now to get on board a management now. Vayu Garware, the Chairman and Managing Director at Garware Technical Fibers, joins us on the show. Mr. Garware, thank you so much for joining us. You know what, we were looking at your stock because a lot of experts, including the likes of Saurav Mukherjee, have been talking positively about the company. And one of the reasons has been that the company has been able to maintain margins at around 20-21%. And this is despite the raw material pressure coming in. Going forward, do you expect some sort of slip in the margins, or do you expect it to continue at the 20% mark?
Hi, good afternoon, and thank you for having us on your show. We really appreciate all the positive feedback we have received from various people in the market. To answer your question about raw materials, yes, our raw material is basically oil-based, so it tends to move along with the oil prices. And of course, oil has skyrocketed, so have our raw materials. However, in our company over the last decade or so, we've changed from almost only 30% value-added products to now almost 80% value-added products. So our products are based on the benefit that we can deliver to customers. And because of that, we're able to pass through the prices. It sometimes has a lag, particularly in the international markets, but we're able to pass through. So finally, when raw materials stabilize, which they have in the fourth quarter of last year, we were able to see our margins coming back completely, and we expect that to continue. Stability helps us. Volatility is more difficult, but it's only a matter of time. So we are able to sustain, and we can see the margins continue.
Scratch that point further with you. You talked about increasing market share as well as the focus on value-added product. Could you throw some more light on it in terms of market share gains? How has that really panned out? What's the number currently? And in terms of the value-added product, it's already at 80%, right? What are you doing to scale it up further? Are you adding new product lines, etc.?
Yes. So to answer the first question about market share, we operate in 13 different verticals. So obviously market shares vary across each of these. But in the bigger verticals like salmon farming, aquaculture, global fishing industry, we have fairly high market shares, even in the sports industry. They continue to grow. And we continue to penetrate into markets like South America, etc., where we are still growing our market shares further. In the Norwegian market, we're still growing our shares further. So our strategy of continuing to grow market shares is very strong, and it continues to be a high priority for us. In terms of value addition, yes, one of our core strategies is to cannibalize sometimes our own products with higher value-add products. And so in our company, new products and R&D is a very key focus. And every business has a goal of having more than 30% of their sale coming from new products developed within the last 3 years. So we continuously have a strong product pipeline, and some of those deliver a lot of value to customers. So we see them upgrading their own systems with our new products.
Right. Good afternoon, Mr. Garware. This is Cheryl also joining in the conversation. And let's talk about your Sportsnet business. How is the business over there? We've seen a double-digit growth in that particular business segment of yours. Do you expect to see a stronger growth going ahead, and given that you also have FIFA as well coming around the corner?
Yeah, Sportsnet business has been growing well, and we expect that to continue. There are some markets where we are still relatively lower market share, which we're penetrating now, including the Southern European market and these kinds of areas. We're not very specifically linked to a particular tournament. We supply basically universities, clubs, tournaments around the world. So a particular tournament coming and going doesn't make a huge impact, obviously. Our business is spread in almost 75 countries, so we are very well spread out. Our distributors and our partners are growing internationally, and that helps us to grow as well.
Right, point taken. What about the new geographies are you venturing in? Also, if you could highlight that, are any acquisition plans for there? Are there any acquisition plans for the company going ahead?
Well, we are already present, as I mentioned earlier, in about 75 countries around the world. So the penetration in some of the new geographies is a key focus for us to grow our market shares there. So, for example, Chile is a large salmon farming market. We are growing very aggressively over there, and our team over there is making very good inroads. So our strategy is to grow in some of these areas. We are also now expanding a little bit outside of the salmon farming industry, which used to be is still our core. Some of the areas like the Mediterranean market, where new species of fish are becoming more industrialized, is an area that we are also focused on. So we're penetrating further, I would say, into the countries that we already exist in or we're operating in. On M&A, it is very much a part of our focus. We have a very strong balance sheet and we have cash on hand. So we're continuously looking for the right opportunities. We have a team that's quite focused on it. But M&A at the end of the day has to be a very strong strategic fit. So, our acquisition will always be dependent on finding the right fit and that transaction going through.
But anything at an advanced stage that you can discuss with us or any timeline, and what kind of, the size of the acquisition you are looking at? Is it going to be a small one? Is it going to be in India or international? Give us some color.
Sure. I can't, mention any specific projects right now, but I can give you some idea of what our strategy is. Being our first acquisition, we will be a little bit careful. So size will be something that we can digest well and integrate well. And it also needs to be in the areas of business in which we are active and we can add value. So that's a very core part of our strategy. In terms of location, we are right now looking at international locations, which will take us closer to our customers. Right now, all of our manufacturing is in India, so we are looking at having a location outside, which will be closer to customers for quick turnaround type of requirements, which today we find take some time to service from here, particularly with the logistics challenges that are happening, etc. This adds to the issues. So that's one of our core parts of our strategy.
Tell us a bit more about that. The logistics issue is something that had impacted the business. Are you still seeing supply chain issues? And with respect to the pricing of the freights, etc., how is that panning out?
So on the inward supply chain, we don't have much of an issue. Most of our raw materials are purchased in India, so we don't have any major issue there. We have some key requirements which come from overseas. But even during COVID, actually, we had a very conscious program to diversify that supply chain, which has worked well and continues to work well for us. So I think on that side, we're quite okay. On the outward supply chain, export has been a concern. It's two aspects. One is, of course, the freight rate itself. And second is, more importantly, the availability of containers and the turnaround time. So freight rates, we're again able to pass through with our customers. We talk to them and, it's a well-known international issue. So most customers are quite receptive and accepting of that. The issue is actually in getting containers and turning around faster. That has extended the order to cash cycle, actually. So that we're seeing a lot of improvement now. From last quarter. We could dispatch a lot of materials that went out even before the end of the year. Much of that went to our own subsidiaries overseas. So that obviously revenue will come in this year. But we were able to smoothen a lot of the inventory that was waiting dispatch got moved out. So we see that improving a lot and hopefully that will continue.
All right. On that note, we'll leave it at that. Thank you so much, Mr. Garware, for joining us and giving us a flavor of what we can expect from your company going ahead and how's the environment looking like. That is Mr. Vayu Garware, who is the Chairman and Managing Director of Garware Technical.